3 sentences. That's all it took to wreck my weekend. I turned onto my street after a quiet grocery run. Coffee still warm in the cup holder. Bread and eggs riding shotgun. Life felt simple for about 30 seconds. Then I saw it. A massive, glossy black pickup truck parked straight across my driveway, like it owned the ground beneath it. No room, no hesitation. Just a slab of steel planted there like a deliberate insult, blocking access to my own home. And taped perfectly to the windshield was a laminated sign. Community event parking. Temporary use. Temporary. Sure. Before I go any further, you need to understand where I live. My name is Marcus Bennett. Early 40s. Divorced. No kids. I live alone on a small 2-acre property just outside a gated neighborhood called Silver Pines Estates. Fancy name. Tall walls. Even taller egos. My land existed long before there were brick entrances, decorative fountains, and private property signs. My dad bought this place back in the 90s, when the area was nothing but woods and dirt roads. He used to joke that the gate kept him out, and I've been grateful for it ever since. He passed away 5 years ago. I stayed. This land stayed with me. It's mine. It's personal. And that truck was sitting on it like none of that history mattered. I pulled over on the road, engine still running, just staring at it, trying to understand what I was looking at. I even checked the street sign, half expecting I'd somehow wandered into an alternate reality where people could just claim someone else's driveway. But no, same street, same mailbox, same cracked oak tree in my yard, same house. I stepped out and walked up to the truck. It was spotless, polished rims, custom exhaust, probably worth more than my home. On the dashboard sat a clipboard with paperwork about the annual Silver Pines Art and Garden Festival. That's when it clicked. Every spring, that neighborhood throws a massive event. Food trucks, painters, live music, wine tastings, the full suburban Pinterest fantasy. And apparently, this year, my driveway had been added to the layout. I pulled out my phone and dialed the number printed on the laminated sign. It rang twice. Silver Pines HOA, this is Cheryl speaking. Her voice was bright, smiling through the phone. Hi, I said, keeping my tone level. My name is Marcus Bennett. There's a truck blocking my driveway. It's parked on my private property. Oh, yes, she replied instantly. That's one of our volunteer vehicles. It's for festival setup. Okay, I said carefully, but it's blocking the only way in and out of my home. I need it moved today. There was a pause. Small, just long enough for the mood to shift. Well, she said lightly, it should only be there a few days. Once the event is over, everything will be cleared. A few days, I repeated. I live here. I work. I run errands. I can't just teleport. She laughed. Actually laughed. Oh, honey, she said. Everyone makes sacrifices during community events. You can just park on the street like everyone else. I'm not part of your community, I replied, and that's my driveway. Well, she said, her voice suddenly flat. It's temporary. Then she hung up. No goodbye. No apology. No discussion. Just a click. I stood there, phone still in my hand, staring at a dead screen, feeling something warm and dangerous begin to rise in my chest. Not anger. Not yet. Something quieter. Heavier. Disrespect. The kind that sinks into your bones. I'd dealt with that HOA before. Letters about my fence being an eyesore. Complaints that my old pickup lowered property values. Once, they even sent notice claiming my grass was half an inch too tall. Half an inch. I ignored most of it because legally they had no authority over me. My property sits just outside their jurisdiction. They hated that. I knew it. I walked back to my car, grabbed my groceries, and carried them inside through the side gate. As I set the bags down, I kept glancing out the window at the truck. It felt like someone had parked inside my living room. I tried to calm myself, made a sandwich, turned on the TV, sat on the couch. It didn't work. Every time I looked outside, it was still there, black, shiny, smug. So I went into my garage. Now, my garage isn't one of those Instagram setups with epoxy floors and neon signs. It's a working man's garage. Tools everywhere. Old shelves, rusty ladders, half-finished projects. My dad and I used to run a small landscaping side business, soil prep, drainage fixes, yard restoration. I kept a lot of leftover materials. That's when I noticed them. 3 dusty boxes on the top shelf, powdered gypsum, bentonite clay, a couple bags of lawn seed. I stared at them for a long moment. Most people see dirt. I saw potential. You see, when you mix bentonite clay with water, it turns into a thick, sticky sludge. Add gypsum and it binds even tighter. Let it sit long enough, and it hardens into something that feels a lot like low-grade concrete. It's perfectly legal. Used all the time for soil conditioning, just not in the wrong place. It was a terrible idea. I leaned back against the workbench and let out a quiet laugh. Not a happy one. More like the kind that comes right before you do something you know you shouldn't. Then Cheryl's voice replayed in my head. "Oh, honey." Click. Yeah, that decided it. I grabbed the hose and dragged it across the driveway, letting it coil and snake around the truck's tires. I opened one box, then another, then the bag of seed. I mixed everything right there on the gravel, slow, deliberate, careful, like I was following a recipe. Then I turned on the water. At first, it just looked like wet dirt. Then it shifted, thickened, became heavy and sticky. It oozed and crawled, sliding under the truck, wrapping itself around the tires, filling every groove in the treads. I kept spraying, not flooding, just misting, controlled, intentional. Within 20 minutes, the ground looked like chocolate pudding, and I won't lie, it was beautiful. I leaned on the hose, breathing hard, heart pounding, watching the mixture settle and spread. This wasn't vandalism. This was landscaping. Perfectly legal. And I was only getting started. By the time I shut off the hose, my arms were sore, my shirt was soaked through, not just with water, but with adrenaline, the kind that makes your hands tremble even after you stop moving. I stood there for a moment, listening to the slow drip from a nozzle, watching the mud relax into itself, thick, glossy, clinging to the truck's tires like it had been waiting for them all along. I knew exactly what I'd done, and I knew I wasn't finished. I went inside, changed into dry clothes, made another cup of coffee, and sat by the window like an old man watching birds of feeder. Except my birds were a luxury pickup truck slowly sinking into carefully engineered misery. Around noon, something finally moved. A white Lexus rolled up and parked near the gate. The door opened, and out stepped Cheryl. I recognized her instantly from HOA newsletters and Facebook posts. Perfect hair, wedge heels, sunglasses bigger than my future. She looked like she'd been printed straight out of a real estate brochure. She marched toward my driveway like she owned it. Every step was aggressive. Every step got muddier. By the time she reached the truck, her shoes were already ruined. She froze, looked down, looked up, looked around. Then she saw me. I was leaning against the porch railing, sipping coffee like it was just another peaceful Saturday morning. "Marcus," she yelled, "what is this?" I took a slow sip. "Looks like soil conditioning," I said. "Helps with drainage." Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. "What have you done to our event vehicle?" I asked. "You know what I mean." "I improved my driveway," I replied. "Perfectly legal." "You're welcome." She stormed closer, nearly slipping twice. "You did this on purpose," she snapped. I shrugged. "You parked on purpose. That truck needs to move now. And I needed my driveway clear yesterday." Her face flushed pink. "You're being unreasonable." I finally stood up straight. "No," I said quietly. "I'm being ignored." That hit harder than yelling ever could. She crossed her arms. "We can call the police." I smiled. "Please do." That wasn't bravado. That was confidence. She stared at me like I'd insulted her mother. "You think you're funny?" "I think I'm tired of being treated like I don't exist." She pulled out her phone and walked away, already dialing. I sat back down and waited. It took about 40 minutes. A county sheriff's cruiser rolled up, lights off, dust on the doors. Deputy Harris stepped out. Late 30s, sunburned. Looked like he'd rather be fishing. "Afternoon," he said. "Hey," I replied. He looked at the truck, looked at the mud, looked at Cheryl, then back at me. This your property? Yes, sir. And you put this here? Yes, sir. Anything toxic? Illegal? No, sir. Gypsum, clay seed, landscaping materials. He nodded slowly, walked around the truck, and lightly kicked the ground. Then he turned to Cheryl. Ma'am, this is private property. He could pour peanut butter on it if he wanted. Her jaw dropped. He sabotaged us. He improved his soil, Harris replied. Then he tipped his hat at me and left. I almost felt bad. Almost. The rest of the day, nothing happened. Cars drove by, slowed down. People took pictures, whispered. By evening, the HOA Facebook page exploded. Whose truck is stuck near the north gate? Is that Marcus's place? Why is it in mud? Can someone fix this before tomorrow? I read every post. I didn't comment once. Instead, every few hours, I went back outside with a hose and gave the mixture a gentle mist, just enough to keep it soft, alive, like feeding a pet. Sunday morning, the owner finally showed up. Big guy, tank top, tattoo sleeves. Looked like his name was Brad or Kyle or something that screamed CrossFit. He climbed into the truck, fired it up, revved the engine. Nothing. Tires spun. Mud sprayed everywhere. Black paint turned brown in seconds. He floored it. The truck sank deeper. He jumped out furious. Are you kidding me? He shouted. He stepped back, slipped, almost fell, caught himself on the side mirror, which snapped clean off. He stared at it like his brain couldn't process what had just happened. I walked out slowly. Morning, I said, what did you do to my truck, man? Parked on my driveway. That's not what I meant. Well, I said, that's where it started. He swore loudly, pulled out his phone, and called someone, probably Cheryl. For 2 more days, that truck sat there like a monument to entitlement. People came by, took selfies, cracked jokes. Someone put a traffic cone on the hood. Someone else left a sticky note that read, nice parking, bro. Meanwhile, I kept watering. Day 3, a tow truck finally arrived. Big rig, chains, winch. The operator took one look at the scene and whistled. Whoever did this, he said, is evil. Thanks, I replied. It took him nearly an hour to get the truck free. They dug around the tires, laid down boards, shoveled mud, winched out inch by inch. When it finally rolled free, my driveway looked like a battlefield. Deep ruts, cracked edges, destroyed gravel. But the truck was gone. That afternoon, Cheryl came back. No sunglasses, no heels, just flats and a folder tucked under her arm. She looked exhausted, defeated. Marcus, she said quietly, we'd like to resolve this. I crossed my arms. I'm listening. She stood there holding that folder like it weighed 50 pounds. Her shoulders slumped just enough to tell me this wasn't a performance anymore. This was someone who had run out of options. The wind pushed dry leaves across the ruts left by the tow truck. My driveway looked like it had survived a small war. In a way, it had. Go ahead, I said. Open it. She hesitated. Then she did. Inside was a stack of papers, estimates, letters, forms, neatly organized, color-coded, labeled. Classic HOA. We had 3 contractors come out, she said softly. Your driveway needs full resurfacing. Complete repair. It'll cost about $1,200. I raised an eyebrow. And we're willing to cover all of it immediately. Good. She nodded. We've also prepared a formal agreement. She slid a document toward me. I didn't touch it. Read it, she urged. I will. She swallowed. This agreement states that Silver Pines HOA will never use, occupy, block, or access your property for any purpose without your written permission. Keep going. And if any future violation occurs, she said, lips tightening, we agree to pay a penalty of $500 per day. There it was, the clause I'd insisted on. I picked up the papers and read every word slowly, carefully, twice. As I stood there, something settled in. This had never been about money. Not really. It was about respect, boundaries, being acknowledged. For years, they treated my land like a mistake on their map, an inconvenience, a leftover. Today, They were finally admitting it existed. I looked up. You'll sign this? Yes. No excuses. Yes. No loopholes. Yes. No blaming volunteers. Yes. I held out a pen. She signed. Her hand shook just a little. When she finished, she exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for 3 days straight. Thank you, she said quietly. I nodded. You're welcome. That evening, after she left, I stood in my driveway for a long time. The sun dipped behind the trees, painting the sky orange and purple. Crickets started their nightly chorus. I thought about my dad, how he used to sit on that same porch, beer in hand, watching sunsets like they were personal gifts. He would have loved the story, probably laughed about it for a week. The next morning, the contractors arrived. Fresh gravel, new asphalt, clean lines. By noon, my driveway looked better than it ever had, stronger, smoother, like it had been upgraded by spite. I didn't pay a dime. Life slowly went back to normal. The festival ended. The crowds disappeared. HOA Facebook posts shifted back to noise complaints, dog poop, mailbox colors. No one ever parked on my property again. Not once. But here's the thing. Every now and then, I open a cabinet in my garage. Those boxes are still there. Gypsum, bentonite, seed, waiting. I don't plan to use them. But knowing that there is comforting, like a silent boundary marker. A reminder. Some people only understand limits when you make them visible. I've told this story to friends, coworkers, neighbors. The reactions are always split. Half say, you were justified. They deserved it. The other half say, you went too far. You could have handled it better. Maybe they're right. Maybe I should have kept calling, kept arguing, kept begging to be respected. But here's what I've learned. When you're polite, some people hear weakness. When you're quiet, they hear permission. And when you finally stand your ground, they act shocked. Was I petty? Probably. Was I malicious? A little. Was I wrong? I don't know. That's for you to decide. Because this story isn't really about a driveway. It's about power. About small people with big titles. About communities that forget not everyone wears matching mailboxes. About what happens when someone finally says, no, not here, not anymore. So now I want to hear from you. If someone blocks your home, ignores you, laughs at you, and treats your property like it doesn't matter, what do you do? Stay polite? Escalate? Walk away? Was I standing up for myself or becoming a villain in someone else's story? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want more real stories about neighbor wars, quiet revenge, and that messy line between justice and pettiness, hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.